Welcome to the Airfleet Debrief. The focus of the Airfleet Debrief is to teach B2B marketers something that they can use right away in 15 minutes or less. And today I am joined by Airfleet CEO Elad. Elad, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your company. I can't speak this morning. I swear I did have coffee.
Don't worry, don't worry. It's 7 p.m. here, so I can't speak as well. I think probably my fifth coffee, but anyway. So Airfleet creates and optimizes revenue-generating websites for tech B2B. In reality, what it means is we are trying to make the buyer journey on B2B websites much, much better than it is right now. That's the gist of it.
Love it. And today we're going to be talking about something that will definitely make it so there's less friction in that buyer process. And let's talk a little bit about progressive profiling or progressive forms, as it's sometimes known. Do you want to give us a little history on what it was originally intended for?
Yeah, sure. I think before we even start there, I would say in general, I don't like forms. Like whenever I encounter a form, for me, especially long ones, for me, it's an immediate turn off. Like I'll see like a nice resource to it or something like that, and then bam, fill in all of your information, where you're from, your age, what do you like, what are your hobbies, where did you go to school? I don't know, a bunch of questions. For me, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, let me just Google the next one. The agenda, I think, I believe, under inventing the progressive profiling concept was instead of asking all of those questions all in one. So the idea was to separate that, to have like ask your must-have questions and then ask more and more and more and more until you get all of the information about the prospect, right? I think that was the agenda when coming up with progressive profiling concept.
It was. I'm old enough to remember because I remember hearing about it and thinking, oh, that's kind of cool. Wait, why would you want to ask for that much information?
Correct. Look, I'm all into knowing and having information that you can then utilize and do something with. But obviously, I think there's a limit of how much you can annoy your prospect and just ask more and more questions.
But I think a lot of us, you, have figured out how to use it in a really helpful way. If you could kind of talk through that.
Yeah, for sure. So I encountered this concept I don't know, by accident, you can say, when trying to think about the returning visitor experience. So obviously the progressive profiling is targeting returning visitors or returning users on your website. So you ask them one time, you ask them for the basic information like email, name, stuff like that. And then later on you pick on them and ask them like random questions like where are you from, what size is your company, what type of marketing stack are you using, and a bunch of other questions. And then I realized that basically you can use the progressive profiling as a mean to not ask them anything. Because if you download a resource and then you go to download another resource, so you don't want to see the same form over again and refill all of your information. And I get that so many times. I posted about Outreach sending me an email with their really nice resource, right? But then when to get this resource from the email, I need to fill in a form. And I'm like, why? You already have my information. Just send me that via email. So I think that the idea was, okay, how can I leverage progressive profiling to ask as little as possible on my second visit? And then I realized that basically I can just ask nothing. If you actually use the progressive profiling like that, you can basically ask all of the information that you really need on the first form field. And then on the second form field, you actually don't have a form at all. You just have the CTA, the button, like download now. And then this amazing thing happens when you actually get your visitor to download one resource, then they can download all of the resources they want without actually having to fill in another form and another form. Now, I think the nice aspect of progressive profiling, because basically we've been coding that on websites for years now, but we usually what we did is like we used the cookie, and then instead of embedding a form, we just did a bunch of coding logic and stuff like that, and immediately send them to download the resource. But then another issue happened where you didn't get the form submission event in your marketing automation. So we needed to bridge that gap and start messing around and created like a much more complicated solution. But I realized that if you use progressive profiling, not as it was intended, but without queuing any other questions, you can actually get just a button, which is the form, and then you don't ask anything. You get to download everything, but you actually get all of these form field events in your marketing automation. So you can use that to trigger workflows or to segment or to list or just to send that to analytics. It's a win-win for everyone.
I love it. I love it. And I think you termed it only gate once or OGO, which is catchy. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so forms is a no-go, or progressive profiling as intended is a no-go, but only gate once, so OGO. Yeah, I think that in the world we are living now, with all of the technology that we have, it doesn't make sense to annoy your prospect. Like, as I mentioned when we started, like if you can completely remove forms from your website, obviously that would be ideal. Unfortunately, we need to somehow capture the basic information at least. So I get it. Like we must use forms. We have forms on our website, of course, but I would limit that as much as possible. And I think this OGO method is really the way to go, and it's really easy to do. Like that's the nice thing about that. It's like you can do it today. You can do it now. It will take like 5 minutes tops per each form. So it's like it's a no-brainer.
So I know we're live, but are you feeling brave enough to show us how to do that in HubSpot?
Oh, wow. I'll take this one.
And just want to put it out there, Marketo has some excellent resources. Airfleet also has an excellent resource that we will link in this live stream event. So be sure to check back.
So let me share my screen. Wait, let me finally this one. Okay, can you see my screen now?
I can. I'm so excited.
Amazing. Oh my God. All right. So this is actually a form from career submission. Don't ask, but we have a form for career submission. But I'll use that as an example, right? So when you add the form on HubSpot, and this can be any form, you actually have, if you go to each of the fields, let's say you want to go to first name, if you go to logic, you can actually have progressive field options. So if you mark that as replace with queued progressive field, the idea is that technically everything that will appear here, that's the general concept of progressive form, that everything that will appear, such as this form, for example, will only appear if we don't have this information already.
Yep.
So what we do actually is we can trigger that for all of the different fields that we have here. And then the nice thing is that once I fill this form, and maybe I can even do it. This is done. So basically you go over all of them and you mark that as a place with queued fields. But then that's the magic. That's where the magic happens. Because if you don't have anything under the queued fields, so basically what will happen once I fill this in once, and we can, I don't know if we can actually use the like preview. Yeah, that would be an other one to show. But basically whenever I now fill in the entire form, so all of these fields, the second time I'm going to visit the same page with the same form, the only thing I'm going to see is the apply button. That's the concept. Obviously, like the GDPR and privacy stuff, they must agree on the first time, otherwise it won't work. But once they agree and once they fill in this form, the second time it will trigger, you'll only see the apply button. I think that's like the magic. And it took me like 2 minutes to do it on this form. So if you go and do it for all of your resources, hopefully use the same form for each resource, you can actually again do everything in like 5 to 10 minutes. And that's it. Once someone will fill in the form, the second time they will download any resources with the same form, they won't have to fill in this or even not with the same form, just with the same fields, they won't have to fill in this form. Now, if you do want to make sure, for example, if you use forms for webinar registrations or event registrations. So I wouldn't suggest using this method there, because sometimes people would like to use their personal email for events or webinars or something like that. And I wouldn't use like fields that will change often. I don't know, a phone or a title. Maybe keep those and ask those again, because this can change. Title maybe not, but phone numbers or something like that. Because otherwise, whenever someone will have your HubSpot cookie or Marketo cookie, they will never see a form again. So if you do want them to see something and fill in or change something, so make sure you don't add those to the progressive profiling. Yeah,
You nailed it.
great.
And we still have like 3 minutes. So let's talk a little bit more about when this is perfect and when it's not perfect. I know you just covered this, but would like to emphasize this is really great for gated content, where you should be asking for minimal information anyway. And I always advise my clients, if you can get away with asking just for an email and using enrichment. So this is a great application for that.
Totally. I think that if you couple like enrichment on your forms and this method of only gate once, you can actually have the experience of what is commonly used when you start like a SaaS free trial. So you see like this email field, and that's it. That's what you see, because they want you to convert. And that's the best. That's like the minimum information that you actually need to get people's information. Obviously, don't use it on request a demo. You want people to walk a bit to request a demo, not just click request a demo. That would be awkward. But resource, gated resource, that's the main, that's like the classic usage for this method.
And then in the 2 minutes, just a really quick opinion on, I know a lot of companies gate personal emails and they only want business emails. I hear that you advised against that for webinars in particular. Are there other use cases where you think you should allow people to choose?
So here's the thing. Here's what I believe. If someone would like to download your resource and they don't want you to give you the information, but it's an amazing resource and they still don't want to give you their information, they can use like temp emails and stuff like that. And it's very hard to get around that. The thing is that most often those leads, if they go directly to sales, now that's an issue, obviously. You don't want to sell Gmail and send Gmail and Outlook emails to sales. That doesn't make sense. But if you just want to actually, the way I see B2B marketing in general is that you don't need to push them to sell them by force. That's the thing. People don't want to be sold to. They want to feel like they are making the decisions. So I'm not against having Gmails, as long as I can reach out to them and explain them why my services are better, why the product is better. I don't care if that's, maybe their personal email is even better, right? Like you get a lot of junk in your work email, but your personal email is usually a bit more contained. So I don't know, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Yes, you can't enrich that, but you can still use that information.
And I really like that because a lot of us, when we change jobs, we stay in the same industry and kind of position. So still might be relevant. Elad, thank you so much. Can you tell us where to find more information about Airfleet and how to network with you?
Yeah, definitely. So hit me up on LinkedIn. If you watched it on LinkedIn, feel free. I post a lot on LinkedIn. Follow us at Airfleet on Airfleet also on LinkedIn. And our website is airfleet.co, not .com.co. So check it out. I have all of this progressive profiling information on our blog, one of our latest blogs. So yeah, check it out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And like he said, follow Airfleet and catch us for the next LinkedIn Live.